I reckon if y'all are ready, so am I. Since we've gotten ourselves a little warmed up, we've had a little bit of fun, and now it's time for the painful drudgery of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm afraid, but you know what? We got to do it because it's our jobs.
Yep.
And I'm so happy that I can see you all too. For whatever reason,
Yes.
because it just fixed itself. I didn't do anything, and suddenly there you are. So yay.
It was
Fire.
roll 20 being stupid.
Yep.
Yep.
It's either that or it's because I was in.
I mean, we don't know that visual, so I'm not gonna comment either way. It could be, but it could very easily not be. So
It could just be roll 20 being a derp, like always.
Yeah.
WebRTC in general is derpy.
All right. Well, we have. Oh. Oh.
I just do that.
That's a cute little.
That's cute.
It's a cute little warm-up sketch.
Little doodle.
That's it's Timmy from BT21. It's one of the BTS characters.
Yes. So in this sense, then I suppose we can start with Norallie, since Norallie's done a little traveling. Now, you didn't go out to go see the Healing Words perform live in Aslandia, but you know your physical your IRL counterpart did a little bit of that. But why don't we start with Team Norallie and Bright? I don't know if you came up with like a sub-team name for your, for each other, but let's start with you. And what's going on with Norallie, or just things in general here?
Well, Bright found a vampire and then chased after the vampire, and then I summoned Fenry, and we tried to find Bright, but she was flying, so we couldn't really find her. And then Fenry got hungry. Well, no, first he got lost, and then he got hungry. And then he found some place to eat, but there's all these people, and then they shut the door and locked it, and then he didn't come out for a while, so I went in. And then, oh yeah, my dog can talk, so he was talking to them. And then he was about to leave, but I was in there because I was trying to get him. So then the guys saw me, and they're like, "Oh hey, let's chat." And they gave me cookies, and the cookies are really nice actually. And we talked and chatted, and then we went home, or not home, but we went to the tavern to wait for Bright. And then I don't know, she's just freaking out all of a sudden. And it's like, it's not that big a deal. I didn't really tell them anything. Like I said, we were getting on a boat, but there's boats everywhere. And then I said we're leaving a few days, but that's not even a number. And then they said they were leaving like tonight or tomorrow, so like they're probably either going to be on a different boat or a different day, and we're not even going to see each other. And Mask of Horns is a big town, so whatever. I don't know what she's so worried about. Oh, and then Fenry turned back into a statue. So I gotta wait a while before I can summon him again.
Excellent. I think that was a concise summary. And because that is literally what happened, we don't need any other opinions. Because anyone who thinks differently is dumb. Duh.
Okay, well, game over then.
Good game, everyone. Thank you. This was an awesome Tuesday.
No.
So we have a point. I reckon, in all fairness, we should offer a counterpoint to our dear Bright, who is the other member of the team here, and yes, oh sheeps, literally. So Bright, what is your counterpoint to Norallie's declaration of the status quo?
Yeah, so, Norallie's wrong.
No, I'm not.
So,
Ooh,
it seems like
I got a nut
so
sip while you're doing this.
we know that the Thieves Guild here is in league with the vampires, or probably at least the Shadowhar Empire, and that usually also means vampires because they talk funny. In fact, maybe they're actually from Shadowhar, and we're pretty sure that they're letting vampires stay in some of the places because we know that Ides is in the Thieves Guild, and we also know that there was a vampire who was sleeping in Ides' warehouse, and Ides wasn't there when I found the vampire nest, but so then maybe that'll be over, but sure that they're responsible. And so Norallie told them who we are and what we look like and where we're staying and where we're going and who we're going to meet when we get there and how we're planning to travel. So I don't think that counts as nothing. I think that's actually quite a lot. So I'm really worried now. And I mean, I don't know. I think we should. I mean, I asked for a different room and they didn't have a different room, so they were going to move us to a different hotel, which was just incredibly nice of them and actually just exactly what we needed because we know they know what room we're staying in and they could come and murder us in our sleep, which I generally prefer not to be murdered in my sleep or when I'm awake, but also in my sleep. So that's all. And so I mean, I would leave right now, but we have a, we have, I mean, we have business to conclude with the wizard in town, and I don't want to leave before that's done because I really need the spells that he's going to give us. And he was going to take some of the extra magic stuff we have and give us lots of money for it.
Yes.
And that's good because I think aside from that, we have like 3 gold between us. So
Yes.
we really need to stay until he's ready to finish his transaction, until he goes to the bank or whatever he has to do. I don't know. But so until then, I'm really worried. Okay, that's all. I'm done.
Very well. Then we shall zoom a great distance from Mesomasca into a part of Mesotopia called Aslandia, which contains mostly a vast, endless desert. And somewhere in a vast, endless desert are several little specks of humanity, well, of generally speaking, of humanoidity, being Mordecai, Selene, and Seltur. Actually, why don't we start with Seltur, who is here with us in spirit, and if you could give us a breakdown of what is going on in your world, we'll then use that as the jumping board into Selene and Mordecai.
Honey, I would, but right now I have this giant hole.
Yeah, you do have a bit of a hole in your neck, don't you? Well, you did. Fortunately, I think Selene was able to give it a quick little magical
did
slap
close
patch.
it up at the end of the session, so it's alright.
I understand that, but you have to understand. I told her if she was going to attempt to kill me on the operating table, she better not botch it up, and that's exactly what she did.
But I wasn't attempting to kill you.
Me. Hey, who's telling the story here right now? Here, I'm up on top. Alright, that's what I thought. Now sit down. Now, as I was saying, right now, she done goofed. She ended up trying to end assassin after I so graciously ended up to be test subject to remove this thing from our neck. And if I understand this correctly, she has not even competently done that. I can see why it was that she was ejected from her lessons as a fellow doctor and had to end up going to Faith to heal, because heaven help her, anybody who goes under the knife. She shouldn't even be permitted to do autopsies as far as I am concerned, because she might end up actually causing pain to living dead, much as she already has done to her dear Mordecai. You see, I already know that these two are a little bit more attached than they care to admit. A wonderful bit of exploitation, I might add. And I'm currently factoring it in. You see, right now, we're in the middle of the desert, surrounded by, loosely, last count, about a Shadowhar Empire troops, with 2 airships, 50 of them on the ground, 25 for each ship. And the more I keep thinking about this, the more I'm thinking I really want myself an airship. I mean, I don't have wings, so I gotta compensate out there. You know, even a girl like me has the failings once in a while. But if you ever tell anybody, that'll murder you in your sleep. Hi, Bright. So, let's see here. I'd love to end up getting the hold of this. The problem I'm running into is Commander Lewiwi and who it is that she's actually waiting on. I'm suspecting the mage might have something to do with her receiving orders. And I'm thinking accidents do happen, airships and ledges.
Airships and ledges. Uh, well.
All right, Muffin Top, now you can open your mouth. And what you say?
Well, lethality, I mean, I'm not the one in control of the game anymore, so we're in Seltur's world. Selene, I don't want her to bully me, so I think you should just speak up next, please.
Let me see. Wrong on a couple of points. First, my aim was not to kill you. Why would you assume that all I want to do is kill you? You are not worth that much energy to me. Truly, you are not.
Oh my.
As for the parasite, well, complications can arise in surgery. I've marked out where it is for later removal. Not to mention, it's an eye with teeth. So that's a thing that you can deal with once you.
Honey,
wake
I
up.
thought you were half elf, not a dwarf.
It's like, beside the point.
Because you are a dwarf and you're digging yourself a hole pretty big. Diggy
like-
hole.
But I have an idea. What I would think to be a good idea, actually. Something that may end up. I don't have the energy to kill you, Selene. Maybe. No. It's more. You're not worth the energy to kill because you're worth more alive. But no. I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea to provide a means of giving Mordecai the means, or at least giving our party the means to contact the other two, Bright and Norallie. And with that, it should also give me back access to my whole suite of spells, which would be very useful because those Shadowhari corpses aren't going to animate themselves.
Ooh. Oh.
The Shadowhar have no respect for life, and as such, I have no respect for them. Mordecai?
You're
Come on,
obviously
sexy.
planning a heist also. Let's be 3 for 3. Come on. What are you heisting or hijacking?
Well, to say the least, it's been an interesting couple of days. I think I've finally figured out what it is that I need to be doing in regards to this whole thing to do with vampires. Pardon. And I am of the same opinion as Selene. If these Shadowhar are going to attempt to use me as some way to grant vampirism to the rest of the Shadowhar Empire, then there is no other course of action. Selene will be a tool of vengeance against those who would besmirch the sanctity of life and death. And I intend to aid her. And all of that being said, we do need to get back to Bright and Norallie because I do worry about them quite a lot. So, that's where I sit.
Oh, you missed Chicken Nugget.
I missed both of them.
There was another one?
Yes, Norallie.
Oh, right, the eyeball.
Sure.
I can't keep it in. oh, shit.
Love you guys.
Love you too, dude. Oh, shit. I actually can't. Oh, just Derek and his amazing comedic timing. Like, just. Oh, but when Selene was giving her exposition, there was a whole bunch of stuff. It's alright, I'll share with you later, but it's
Okay.
great.
As we have then, our two teams are primed and ready to go. Anyone want to step forward and begin, or to get the ball continuing to roll as each of your side plots here are playing out? If not,
Yeah,
then,
You know what?
actually.
Oh. Well,
Desert
I
team?
guess since I'm partially unconscious and plotting your demise, waiting for you to enact your terrible vengeance, by all means, Miss Surgeon.
then we shall begin the session back in the desert, where we will pick up sort of post operation. This was happening during the day, and the patient. Oh, I gotta zoom out just a little bit here. There we go. Our patient was operated on and was stabilized. However, the operation didn't exactly go as planned, and Seltur did pass out. But if you recall, Commander Lily did ask you when she wakes up to pass along some words or sentiment. And do you remember what that was?
Yes, I do. Is that if you wanted my respect, you have it. Is the basic rundown of it.
She is going to she's going to leave you all on the ground, and she's going to go back to the ship. And I will advance a little bit of time here, and we can actually. It doesn't necessarily have to be nighttime. Doesn't have to be nighttime, but they will set up a camp here as y'all are back on the ground. And the two ships are staying in a hovering pattern overhead. There's that kind of incessant droning of vibrating metal from these odd kind of donut-y things that are projecting from the hull. Now, I mean, technically Seltur is healed. I mean, we could do a little bit of creative storytelling as. We didn't really reduce her hit points. She's not under a player's handbook style condition. Though
She's unconscious, I imagine.
She's unconscious for some time, or if she's not unconscious, then she's playing unconscious. And I suppose that would be something that you all can continue here. But your tent, so to speak, is set up. Once more, you are provided the hookah. And you are also given an assortment of refreshments. Now, Mordecai, you did have a temptation during the surgery as things played out, and you were able to hold back your sanguine desires. However,
Been pretty lucky.
it's only a matter of time as you're stuck out here in the desert, and I mean, you're only going to continue to use energy. You're only going to have to you're going to have to feed at some point in time, and everyone out here is looking very either confident or strapping or just healthy in some regard, and so the time will come at some point when what happened the prior night will need to happen again. But for right now, It's later in the afternoon. The sun's getting low, but we're not necessarily in darkness just yet. And besides an accompaniment of guards that are keeping a general distance, because honestly, the attitude that y'all are picking up is where are you gonna run? They don't need to helicopter over you. They don't need to hover over you. They're actually giving you space, and you can sit and talk. And if there's nothing to talk about, I can continue advancing events, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you all an opportunity as we're doing so to, speak, have a moment, make a plan or something along those lines. So the ball is back in your court.
Well, I do have an idea. So that's set of surgeon's equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance that I might be able to sneak the scalpel from it?
Sneak, no, as this was a medical kit that was provided to you by the doctor, and so the doctor was going to be the one recovering this as well. So
okay.
Now, is anything impossible to at least attempt? I'll say no, and you can attempt to do so. However, it's not very sloppily just laid around.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not really confident enough in my abilities to try and do that properly.
I was actually thinking along the same lines. And
is there anything that could be considered sharp around?
Yeah, there's sharpish. There's the tent poles that's holding your tent up. There's it's not necessarily sharp, but if you want a source of fire, there's these little fiery logs, like things that you're seeing in the picture. Seltur even wanted to take a glass, like a wine cup with her, and that isn't sharp itself, but it could be. Aside from that, you could probably, depending on the force you're using, there's some other things that you might be able to use as a sharp instrument.
I'm not aiming as a weapon specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Just something sharp.
Then, well, like small and delicate, because they're not necessarily, providing you precision instruments or anything.
Doesn't need to be precision, it just needs to be sharp enough to break skin.
Then you could probably find some creative uses for some objects around you. If there's these lanterns, you could probably, do something like rip off a handle, which is kind of like it would be like a piece of wire. Like a skinny piece of metal for the handle for the lantern. If you can propose and explain it, I will be open-minded to what you're trying to do. Because this is not a maximum security facility by any means. They seem to actually be giving you a measure of trust.
Well, I only need something sharp or something hot. So the wire should do nicely, actually.
Okay.
So I should be able.
Copper.
Does it happen to be copper?
That's a very good question, actually.
Yeah.
Why don't we
High or low?
Yep. What do you want it to be, high or low?
Let's go high.
High?
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's made of antimatter, and you die instantly upon... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's a...
I'm pretty sure that's a wild magic.
That's one of the best tricks. It's like, makes sense. There's a chance this actually is possible.
You touch the lamp, and a genie doesn't come out of it, unfortunately.
That's fine.
So no, it's some other metal, but they are not made of copper.
Okay, so I should be able to just take it off without too much issue, yeah?
Yeah, the wires just kind of hook into little holes punched into the tops of them. So you know
Okay.
you can like dangle the lantern in front of you as you're carrying it.
Yep. So I'm gonna take that wire off,
Uh-huh.
and the lantern is a fire-based lantern, yes, like an oil lantern.
Yes.
I'm going to take one end of the wire, and
Okay.
I'm going to heat up the end of that end of the wire
Okay.
in the fire to make it red hot.
Okay. Are just the end? Like, are you putting it back in the lantern, the lit wick, or do you want to go over to this kind of warming or cooking fire that's opened up to you? And
No, I'll do it over the lit wick.
Okay.
Mainly because oil flames are very hot.
Okay.
And once it is red hot, Selene is going to stretch her left palm out in front of her. And in Celestial, she's going to begin to say a prayer to Ouijas. Just under her breath.
Mm-hmm.
And as she does so, in the skin of her left palm, she is going to inscribe the holy symbol of Ouijas into her hand.
Okay.
When life doesn't give you lemons, you invent your own.
Then we will conduct this similar to the surgery, depending on the circumstances. I am presuming you're trying not to scream out or draw attention to yourself. Or do you, I mean, are you just letting it flow? Or describe, take us through the process of what at least you're hoping to have happen. And that way, I can take you through the steps, and we'll see what unfolds. We already got a one out of the way, so clearly, by the gambler's fallacy, you are owed good luck now.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason why they call that a fallacy.
Look, it worked so well for Seltur last time. Come on.
Before she does begin, she will look to Mordecai with a look being like, "If I make noise, gag me."
Ooh.
Okay.
And
He'll stay close.
And oh my god. And she says she'll begin inscribing, saying the prayer under her breath, and quietly into the gag if she ends up getting gagged. I said just beginning to inscribe it to stay as quiet as possible.
All right. So, Mordecai, you're gonna apparently you're playing nurse again, as you are here giving backup to Selene, who is doing some self-branding.
Yep.
Then I want to ask, while this is going on, is you are for Seltur, you are mechanically, you're not unconscious due to hit point loss. And things, a slap patch was put on your neck, so you're not bleeding out. You're not, riddled with infection or anything along those lines. So what is Seltur could be unconscious if you want her to be, or she could be unconscious, quote unquote, if you want her to be, or she could be up and about and sitting back, enjoying the hookah once more. This is up to you, Derek.
I imagine, um, just because of her hedonistic nature. Let me slide into her.
Yeah.
Honey, it's very likely I am enjoying Luca. I am enjoying misery being sent upon by, well, my dear operator, as one good turn deserves another. And at this point, she is about to load up the hookah when she notices this and is arguing on whether she should help or whether she should help. She believes she'll be taking on number 2.
Okay. The inflected help.
Yeah. So she is going to mosey on over,
Mm-hmm.
end up getting nearby. And should it ever look like she is about to end up, I can see fairly clearly what she's trying to inscribe upon herself. Do I understand this correctly?
Taking things one step at a time, this would be, we would be at the point where Selene is, she's kind of fidgeting over a lantern. And so you're closer than any of the guards are. I'm not gonna have you roll, and frankly, you all haven't done anything so far yet to warrant, active scrutiny. But we'll say that you can see that Selene is heating. She has bent the wire handle of a lantern. She's like opened up the lantern door and kind of stuck the end of the needle or the wire in there, and is warming it up. And it looks like Selene is having some words with Mordecai, who's very close by.
Aren't they just a couple of lovebirds? I think I'm going to hold back a little bit.
Okay.
Mostly to observe this and see how it goes, and to observe what the gods might end up doing, because this might be entertaining, darling.
Okay.
Mordecai just under his breath asks Selene, "What do you intend to do?"
I'm going to create a connection.
A connection.
Yes, a connection.
All right.
Connection has been established.
Mordecai,
Mm-hmm.
roll an investigation at advantage, since you are. You've traveled. You are also. You have tattoos and piercings yourself. This isn't exactly, the sleepover where you have ice cubes and you pierce each other's ears that's happening here, but...
No, but I understand when someone's going to go for a branding if they were trying to.
A 20 or an 18, so we're going to keep that 20. Excellent roll, since you have only a +1.
Yeah, no, natural 19, natural 17.
Well, we end up finding out Selene's into scarification.
Yeah.
Desperate time calls for desperate.
Well, so Mordecai, you know that Selene has tattoos. You got to see them. So she's probably, familiar with the pain that can accompany them. As let's face it, there's not exactly the modern tattoo gun in this setting. Not that the modern tattoo gun is necessarily without pain itself. And so as she is, Selene is saying a couple prayers under her breath in a language I don't think you understand. You just see that look in her eye, and you realize, like, you've seen this before. There's people who are in your old troop who did similar things for various reasons. Some people want to mark that they visited a place. Some people just want a tally for one thing or another. And with what is available and what's going to be happening here, doing it here is going to be troublesome even if both of you kind of stoop over and she just sort of like, is trying to go about the process, right? Investigation is about discovery, about, forming a thought or going through a process. In your mind, you have a situation where, as far as the guards are aware, based on the observances of Commander Lily, in fact, even Selene's own confession, there is apparently at least a one-way relationship between you and Selene. You also have Selene, who will most likely at some point in time, because this is not a delicate process, be, crying out and maybe even, making prayers to Ouija, saying, "Oh God, oh God." If you wish for some privacy, no one would probably look another way if you went into the tent and kind of closed the flap, to provide yourself some cover.
Then that's what I'll recommend. That's what I'll recommend. This is not an easy process.
It's like, oh, I'm aware, but if you're gonna recommend that, Selene is gonna go bright red. She's like, yeah, okay, let's go.
All right.
I do intend on having that conversation with you, by the way.
Eventually, not now.
Tabled.
Okay, so a little bit of
Well, if that's what you're comfortable.
some we'll put Seltur on the nice pillows over here so she's a little bit more comfortable. Seltur, some time has passed. We're getting towards evening after some collusion and generally, at this point, I'm imagining you've been with these people. If someone's walking too close, you're not gonna blurt out things. If someone's walking by, you are checked upon. Not every 5 minutes, but you are actively addressed by soldiers asking if there's anything that you need. And so sort of waiting between here. If you're going to need some time, Mordecai, this would probably be, now not that Selene can't, or even Seltur. Seltur, at this point, unless Selene and Mordecai say that they've openly shared what they're doing, you've seen that they've been colluding a little bit, and they keep looking towards the tent. And we have a soldier who's doing a routine checkup come by. Mordecai, this would be an opportunity. I'll roll this into your 20 investigation. That if you need to come up with some words to sort of ask the guard to give you a little bit of time, a little bit of space or something like that, this would be the opportunity to do so. And Seltur, you're observing.
Oh, I will be observing, and I'll pay enough attention that I can at least hear what's going. Because I'm kind of curious if there's squealing.
Then yes, unless there's anything whispered, this would be open conversation that you don't need to roll any sort of perceptions to overhear.
Of course not.
So Mordecai, especially because... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm more specifically concerned with well, first of all, somebody better get me a water to fill with this glass because I'm starting to look a little empty, and hookah does end up drying them out a little. I'm also going to require a little bit of company because clearly I'm weak and in a compromised state, and so maybe I need a strong, burly man at this point. So one of the larger gods, somebody might be fun, and if at all possible, I'm going to end up keeping an eye on the tent. However, I want to end up keeping an eye out for those who may intervene, given particular noises that she is expected to be hearing.
Okay. You will be provided water. The soldier tells you that you cannot be provided a warm body, but you are welcome to sit by a fire, as fuel for that will be provided. and otherwise, you can make yourself comfortable as he's checking. We'll say that he's approaching you all since you're over this way, Seltur. So he's approaching from here, is checking in with you. Then of course we have our dream team here of Selene and Mordecai. He's gonna walk over to you two after in his own way. He's playing soldier in the desert, and yet he's also apparently a waiter. And Seltur is making sure to kind of remind him of that service position. And he's going to say, "Is there anything that I can get you to?"
No, it is fine. Some privacy,
Yes.
perhaps.
Some privacy. Is it? We're in the desert. What do you mean?
Mordecai, do you wish to explain?
Personal privacy.
At this point, Seltur said the head immediately swivels to them. And if she had lips, she'd be smiling at this point.
You understand.
He looks at the two of you, and he looks back at Seltur also, who just kind of, instead of smiling, I mean, her mouth is open. I mean, if you think about it, kind of like watching a snake or a lizard, they just sort of open their mouth. In fact, if any of you have ever read A Centaur's Life, there are snake people in that, and the way that the snake character laughs or smiles is genuine and also very disturbing. Yet that's how it would happen, just based on their jaws and their faces. Anyway, so she kind of, I mean, it's almost as her token, right? She just sort of opens her mouth a little bit, and just maybe you see like her tongue kind of do a little like a flick out or something along those lines.
Oh yeah.
And so he looks over at Seltur, who is doing Seltur things there. Looks back to you two. Oh, privacy.
You understand.
Yes, I don't have orders against privacy, so please continue. Though I will have to check in at some point. I hope that you can make it quick. He's a little flustered. He looks back to Seltur.
Don't worry, he's not known for his stamina, but I can't promise on how much more she'll be making. I'm kind of excited to find out.
I just kind of pull Selene close a little bit. I understand.
Mordecai, I would like you to accent that with some kind of social role.
How do you want me? Okay.
You can flavor this. Seltur, in her own way, is kind of providing you cover, and so you're going to be at advantage. But if you want to try and if you're seeing this as duping him, you can. It's just that this is more for if there are consequences of some kind, how are they going to be flavored based on how you're trying to ask for some privacy, some moments, or hey, Mr. Guard, can you maybe do like an extra lap around the camp just to
Definitely being a little showy about it, so I'll do performance.
Okay.
That's okay.
Exhibitionism it is.
At advantage.
Yeah, performance at advantage. Whew, all right. 28. Selene, Mordecai, as he like pulls you close. I mean, if your heart's not already going doki doki, it's doing enough for his, which absolutely isn't for various reasons. Because the things Mordecai says, the way that he's acting here, as he kind of scooches you close and is like, hey, we could use a little extra time, Mr. Guard. I'm saying this to abbreviate. I don't want to put a bunch of words in your mouth here. But yeah, Selene, Mordecai is definitely. There's this doubt: is Mordecai actually warming up to you, or warming up because he's room temperature and you're actually providing warmth? But yeah, he does a very good job. The guard just sort of like looks, his eyes grow wide. He's like, very well, I will. I'll do an extra patrol, and I'll do the best that I can here. because frankly,
much appreciated, sir.
well, look, if I was the same, because I have a girlfriend back home too, I would hope for something similar. And as far as I know, I've received no orders otherwise. So I'll take an extra whap around, and I'll make sure to clear my throat as I'm approaching you all for my next check-in.
Fair enough. On your way now.
Thank you.
He gives a half a nod because, like, frankly, I mean, what is implied is something that, for a soldier out in the middle of the desert, this is, I mean...
Sounds very nice.
It sounds very delightful.
Who knows how long he's been on deployment? It sounds very nice.
And so he will, he'll walk past you, Seltur, and says, I'll go fetch your water shortly. Although...
Oh, honey, take your time, but, if you get a little lonely, wait until you're off shift.
he glances at you, stutters for a moment. No, sorry, ma'am. I have my orders, and fraternizing with you all aren't included in them. I'll go get your
honey,
water.
If you need orders, and up there being top.
His cheeks immediately appear sunburnt, though they are not, and he strides through the sands away from you to go get water.
Why are all the men so frail out here? Ah, well.
All right, Mordecai and Selene, you all have a plan. You have some time. It's not a ton of time, but you have time, and you have some privacy as whoop, you pull the cord, and you know the little tent roll over the front falls down. I mean, you could obviously have a lantern in there, but
which we do.
That was easy.
Yeah, easy.
All right, so do what you need to do.
Yes. Let's begin.
Okay. We are going to go through some steps in trying to brand a symbol of Ouijas into your hand using a hot wire and your faith in your goddess with Nurse Mordecai at your side here. We can do this as a bit of an impromptu, I guess as a skill challenge, although this is more of a narrative with random turns. So the basic stuff, I mean, you already did a surgery, you know, you have a lot of this down. I'm not going to go for the minutia, but for various moments during this, which are probably going to be more crucial, then we'll call for a roll. So Selene,
okay.
As you're envisioning this, I imagine you're going to want some kind of a guide, maybe to somehow sketch it out or to plan this representation of your faith that is now going to be a part of you.
Yep.
How would you like to somehow maybe make a guide or a sketch or mark this, or do you not even want to?
The easiest way to do that would be if I heat the other end of the wire, not to red hot, but just a little bit. Because of the way that steel heats up, there will be a little bit, and because of the fact that it's an oil fire, there will be a little bit of charcoal on the end, which I can then use to mark out lines.
Yep, you can scrape some, it's called lamp black. That's actually what ink used to be made out of.
Yeah.
Very, very
so
clever.
I can do that on my hand and scroll out the symbol with the non-hot end of the wire.
Sure. All right, so scraping that into the lamp black to get the carbonized material. Go ahead and make a religion at advantage, because this is, I mean, if you can't at least sketch out one or several of the various holy symbols to Ouijas, then
Yeah.
Clearly, you're a discredited sage, and I mean, who would ever want to hang out with one of those?
I am going to guidance myself before I do.
Okay. That's fine. You're saying a little prayer for you. Ooh, all right.
And then D4. 24.
Nice. Okay, so you're doing as such, and describe. You don't have to get super in detail, but as we can envision Weejas, who is this goddess of death and magic, she does have undeath as a part of her beliefs, even if your modern brand of it has since eschewed that.
I mean,
describe a couple tenets.
We have undeath. It's just it's undeath that doesn't sully the soul. Is the main one.
Describe it a little bit then.
So the main tenets is the to be unafraid of seeking knowledge, and to have the serenity to accept death when it comes, to waste not the potential of the mortal body, yet sully not the sanctity of the soul, to embrace all forms and expressions of magic, but abhor those that break the tenets.
Okay, so you're beginning, and you're making references. These are probably going to be parts of scripture from your holy book that are making up at least a part of the symbol here.
Yep.
For the presentation, I mean, so you have the tenets of your faith that you're using as sort of like a boundary. What will the I mean, it's not going to be like super detailed necessarily, but what is the? Are we talking like a full skull? Are we kind of doing a halfsies, or is it more of just a? Does it look like a fireball with a face, or something else? Now that we have your faith, your scripture, what is the intention of the image to look like?
Well, the intention of the image is to be a connection, and to do that, it would have to be the purest of forms for Weejas, which would be the fireball that looks like a face, that looks like a skull.
Okay. Okay.
To show mastery of death and mastery of magic.
All right. Then as you're doing this, you have this planned out, and even using the texture or the folds of your palm, to sort of give texture to the fire as it is roiling up your hand and has the face that's in here as well. You have a rough sketch. I mean, this is not a masterpiece, but that's not exactly what you're going for, considering you're heating up a wire and self-branding a holy symbol in the middle of a desert here. But your faith is strong. You recognize the symbols of faith and what they mean, and that these are your guidelines of practicing your faith and becoming closer to Weejas here. And so now that you have this planned, it's going to be time to begin the burns.
Yep.
What I will need now is a medicine at disadvantage, as you are going to be. Well, you're using a hot wire into your own flesh, while also you have the guidelines, which is even allowing for this to happen at all, because otherwise you might be blinded by pain, similar to Seltur here. But go ahead and roll a medicine at disadvantage as you begin this process.
I'm gonna give her a bardic inspiration for it.
Okay.
And I will also, again, guidance myself, clear my head, and prepare for what I am about to endure. Bardic is D8, yes, Mordecai?
Yes.
Right. Well then, shall we begin the experiment?
You've got this.
Ooh!
An 8 or an 8?
But we've got a D8 and a D4.
That's
It's
you rolled
also
two ones.
natural ones.
It is 2 natural ones.
A miniature black hole opens up in the tent and just if the antimatter weren't
now
enough.
you have to roll for a wild magic.
13.
Okay, so
It's past the 10.
I'm not gonna pass out at least.
So Selene, the hot wire touches your skin. Seltur, from outside the tent, you hear just I don't know, like a sucking in of air and kind of a grain or like a groan or a strain here. And Selene, I need you to make a Constitution save at disadvantage, please.
Trying
Oh, this
so
is-
hard not to tell him what's happening.
12.
Okay, you are. Things are kind of like becoming distant. You're still conscious, but you're hanging in there. You're just like trying to. Tears are just coming out of your eyes at this, and things are just kind of wobbly. You can either continue in this state, or you can wait, which will eat into X amount of time before the patrolman comes back, or you can abandon the project. But this is the current state of things. How will you proceed?
I need to attempt to continue, but
Do you need help doing this?
it's like, yeah.
Okay.
I am actually gonna get Mordecai to actively help me now.
Okay.
I will point out Seltur at this point has her pillow a little closer to the tent.
Just kind
And
of.
a fiend.
her ear hole in the side of her head perks up a little bit.
Oh, you're gonna hear it when you get out of that tent.
All right, so Selene has definitely made a little bit of noise and a fuss here. Mordecai, you're going to be taking over the apparently the artist portion. So Selene, we will continue, but as this is not yourself doing everything, this could prove a little bit more difficult. Mordecai can follow the lines. Mordecai could color. Could use your hand as a coloring book. And so this is going to mean you're going to need to somehow keep this connection, or you're going to have to build, Mordecai will have to be the vessel, so to speak, or a way to channel your faith through this act of faith, though he is...
It sucks that I'm not level 10, or otherwise divine intervention would work here perfectly. Just for the way that you described that. But,
Now, Mordecai...
I grew up in
Selene can
I
do
grew
is-
up in a port town that is heavily influenced by Ouija's. I would know the prayers.
Well, yes, knowing the prayers, you know the very common ones. That's fine. Knowing the prayers, but being devout about them are two different things. Now,
I mean, Selene can guide him through the prayer, and I mean, make it sound like some very ritualistic.
You can, to provide instruction. I mean, so here we have almost the ending scenes in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where Selene is, the penitent man, as you're trying to hope that your son will get through the trap here, as you're sort of like laying on the floor, sweating and in pain and dying. You're not dying, but Now, Mordecai, it is my duty as a DM to make you aware of your options.
Mm-hmm.
You are a vampire. You have also you are aware. By the way, Grace of Darkness, thank you for re-upping the sub. I very much appreciate that. You have a way to connect with Selene that is, well, more of a supernatural. I mean, if you want to understand her even more intimately than words can speak, you have a reasonable amount of blood of hers already. Not that there's been the amount of time to get all for her to regenerate it back, because it's only been a day.
Mm-hmm.
However, you could feed from her, and that could possibly help, because you are making this connection, this understanding. You have the flavor of Selene, you have her strength, maybe even a part of her faith flowing through you. And this could also hold off the hunger, if you're doing this deliberately instead of just, I mean, what if Selene makes an oopsie and, pokes her hand and suddenly the tent starts shaking a little bit more violently because you lost control in a different way. And it's a little bit more savage than you had hoped. So I'm going to dangle this carrot in front of you. You do not have to take it. There's no mechanical compulsion. But being a vampire and also having tasted Selene,
it might help.
It could help. It could calm her if you put her into kind of a blood loss stupor. It would give you some insight. But at the same time, Selene, you're going to have to be there to, say some prayers and to guide Mordecai and to speak tenets of your faith and things along those lines. So
that is fine. Even in a blood loss style stupor, Selene has gone over the lines, gone through the motions so many times that it is just 100% second nature to her.
Mm-hmm.
She is a cleric devoted to her goddess to the point of near zealotry.
And so I present this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Selene kind of thinks for a moment, shaking a little bit, and she's like, "Okay." And it's like, and I have the perfect way on how we can make this work whilst keeping up our facade.
Okay.
Selene is going to drag one of her incisors, probably her left one, over her lip.
Okay.
To split it just slightly. And then she is going to pull Mordecai close and kiss him to allow him to feed that way.
All right.
There you go, there you go, Dark Wolf. Now you have more drawing material.
We do this for you, really. That's what this comes down to.
You have no idea on how hard it is to be making comments right now.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what Mordecai does.
And as he drinks, Selene I suppose in this intimate state that they are in, where they are closest together in body, mind, and spirit, will begin across all three mediums to basically she would basically go, repeat after me, and begin with the prayers.
Then Mordecai, it begins with a drink from the lips, but a small self incision is not going to sate you, and it will not provide the effect perhaps that you're hoping for. And so, as Selene is still, able to speak and say these prayers, you're going to have to go to a more vital area. So as this is happening, and then you go for perhaps a more traditional bite, something more savory, even if it's unsavory. And Mordecai, you get there's that taste, and this isn't even just the whiff that you somehow using your curative magic, your restorative magics offers you a little glimmer there. And this also this isn't blood that has been taken by another, put into a vessel, and then offered to you. This is right from the source. And so Selene begins a chant and a prayer, as long as she still has consciousness and the ability to speak, as you are drinking from her. And this Selene is her presence. Like, you can just feel her. She's strengthening you. Selene, what did we say that your blood was tasting like to Mordecai?
I don't remember exactly. Actually,
It wasn't strawberries. That was bright.
No, it was
Or was that cotton candy?
And candy was Norallie.
It's both.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, cotton candy was Norallie. Strawberries was bright.
Yeah.
But it's strawberry flavored cotton candy.
That's right, strawberry flavored cotton candy.
Extra
And then
sweet.
Norallie was cotton candy. Selene, I think she tasted like, I think it was like I think it was like somewhat
Refreshing.
flowery.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and you know what? We can explore the fact, because something like that might change also, depending on circumstances. Y'all have been through this magical process. It could have even been a little bit different from this day from last day. So Mordecai, you're getting this taste of Selene. Seltur, outside, there is a rather breathy prayer being. There's a little bit of rustling going on, and there's a rather breathy prayer from Selene.
Ooh, it's a Seltur.
Are you scooching your cushions up a little closer, or are you keeping a distance?
Oh, honey, I'm making very close in this regard. In fact, that hookah pipe just doesn't seem quite long enough at this point.
Are you dragging it closer to the tent with you, or?
Probably not paying attention on that regard.
Oh, okay. You're abandoning
but it's all
it.
those little noises. No, she will not knock it over. She's not trying to draw attention in that regard.
Yeah.
However, once noises start making their way outside of the tent, side commentary will be inevitable. And we will wait until those moments happen before I announce them.
Very good.
Okay.
Mordecai, this
Suffice
connect.
it to say,
No, go ahead. Oh, still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I didn't know if there's anything else that you were continuing.
No, it's quite all right. Suffice it to say, she understands that it's hot, and she understands that it's going to be painful first time. But we'll leave the rest of the comments depending on how she reacts.
Then we will see how this process goes, as Mordecai is becoming one, in a sense, with Selene. Mordecai, you have this closeness, this intimacy that, only someone like you can truly understand. It's as if, you have consumed a part of Selene. And as this happens, you think back, and because this is something that you've been cautious about. You've tried not to, but in this rather passionate embrace, you're being fed. You're becoming so close, and you think to Tazray, who gave in to this urge, and he fed as he did, and just the fact that he was able to manifest, great power from this act, just physically, and nothing necessarily helped out his personality or his intelligence score, But not just with, muscular performance or the fact that he had this supernatural strength. If you recall when you fought him in the barnyard, before, you received your unique beard, he was able to manifest these wisps, these somethings, from him, and was able to sort of command them in a way. Now, that maybe that was unique to Tazray, or maybe this is just an unknown, undiscovered thing, because really, you've only ever just dipped your toe into this pool. But all of these thoughts are swirling, like the blood in your mouth here. And you're also getting some thoughts and emotions from Selene. You're getting to taste devotion. You've said prayers before. You've prayed to the lunar goddess. You've had moments of defeat and triumph, perhaps, where even if it's only a reflex, because you do know the words in the prayers, where you make the holy symbol because it's culturally expected of you, perhaps, or it's a little prayer for good luck. You may not fully believe in the faith, but you do it anyway, by rote. And yet here you are getting to taste faith, belief, a very pure, strong taste that, I can't describe it like strawberry or anything along those lines. But you are getting this sort of empowerment or this understanding through Selene as her, she's barely holding on to consciousness through the pain or the pleasure or the fact that, her body is losing blood. And so, Mordecai, what I am going to need from you is I will need a Constitution save straight up to see if you can detach yourself after having reached this point, or if it will continue.
Boy.
Okay, so with a 6.
Oh no. You'll see just trouble.
You drink. The flavor is... you can't get enough. And Selene slips into unconsciousness. And you feel full. She's not dead, but she's definitely shallow breathing. She looks, I guess, paler than usual. Yeah, you've only been out in the desert for, 2 days at most, so it's not like y'all have bronzed up or anything. And this is like a revelation, some kind of an epiphany, because the strength of faith is flowing through you, Mordecai. And you look through the world, and this isn't necessarily, I'm not enforcing a any sort of congratulations, mechanically you're a follower of Ouija's or anything, but you're having this kind of epiphany, this revelation, maybe a series of connections that you've never entertained before. Whether you accept them or not, that's going to be up to you as the player and your character. And so Selene is lying there unconscious. She's just panting. She's pale. And you're marveling in the world around you and what a place it is. You feel confident. You feel powerful.
Focus on the mission, Mordecai. Focus on the mission.
And we have a situation now where we have a follower of the Lady of Death who herself is on death's doorstep.
Self-inscribing. Holy.
She is... I'll tell you what, actually, make a religion at advantage. You have a little bit of faith flowing through you right now. Okay, so it's not a 5, but these ones are certainly creating interesting circumstances, if not for advantage. So for a 13, this is going to be your call as Coffee Cat playing Mordecai.
Mm-hmm.
We have a devout, almost zealous, as she would describe herself, follower of the Lady of Death. You are filled with power and this and a taste of understanding. She, Selene, is looking for a commune with her goddess. You have delivered her to the doorstep of this goddess as she lies there, before you, shallowly breathing, very, very pale. And despite the waning desert afternoon here, going into evening, she's not blazing hot or the like. Without any sort of, you're not drunk with power. I'm forcing you to make an indecision. You have a moment, especially in this holy revelation. You may, well, you could operate on her in this state. You could, depending on your own confidence in yourself, your faith, your powers, your existence as it was or is or will become, you might be able to send Selene to Weejas by finishing this other ritual. You could abandon at this point. There's a couple options here that are open to you. And I will point out too that your opinion of Siphonix aside, it sounds like Siphonix, unless he was telling a tall tale, maybe he was, had contact with someone who was described to be very much akin to Weejas, who did suffer through vampirism and had found a remedy to it. We are talking about aspects of death or undeath. This could be a religious moment for you, a moment of liminality, as you are on the precipice of death itself. Though Mordecai, you're more firmly ensconced on that precipice. So throwing these options, these thoughts out to you, and if you have a separate one, then you could come back to me with it. But how would you like to take this moment? You have this power. You can make this decision. The taste of faith is in your mouth.
I think because he doesn't want her to die.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's going to do is just kind of whisper a prayer to Weejas that her work isn't done, that we need to make this connection in order to fulfill Weejas's will. And in order to do that, Selene needs to live. And I need to finish the brand.
Okay.
So I'm going to do everything in my power to keep her stable while I'm tracing it. By using Cure Wounds as many spell slots as it takes.
Okay. Sure, you make her comfortable. You'll probably want to make sure that you... there's nothing necessarily to tie her down to, but you can try and secure her in case she does flinch. As she is unconscious, but she could... she could have a reaction. She could, have a leg jerk or something. Who knows? But you can secure her, partially bind her or the like. Have her left palm out, and using this moment of connection as Selene teeters on the brink of death, begin to reinscribe the brand in her hand. So Seltur outside, you're hearing a little bit of ruffling, some rustling from within, and once more, pardon me, especially because you're a little bit closer now. You can hear that the lantern, the little door is opened up, and a couple little flickers or of some fire, and Mordecai is going to start saying the rudimentary prayers that you know. Selene's blood didn't imbue, decades of religious study into you or anything, but it's
No.
giving you an appreciation perhaps of her faith. And so we're doing a bit of a Hail Mary. I guess no pun intended, but this is what we're going to be doing now. And so Mordecai, you're going to be performing this. I would like a religion at advantage as you are trying to get into the moment, into this kind of mood, this invocation of divine favor and understanding. Okay, so a 6 or a 5. Okay.
Oh no.
The ones are strong tonight. And by that I mean the roleplay opportunities.
What? Roll 20!
Hey, we have cameras at
You
least.
guys are gonna have great rolls later, I'm telling you now.
Lots of low rolls.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. Someone somewhere's like, the bargain's been struck, you have cameras. Now accept the ones. And so Mordecai, you're saying these prayers. You're trying to be in the mood here, and just this power, this I can do things. I can be more. I can maybe follow this path to find a cure, or even
Praise Bane.
And so outside Seltur, I mean, you are hearing Mordecai. Mordecai's kind of chanting something low, and then just after a couple minutes, he is just not bellowing per se, not in like a drunken whatever. He's proclaiming. He's going over. Yes, and this shall be, and going through some quotations, some common scripture declarations here.
Leave it to Muffin Top to end up turning sex into a religious experience.
And Mordecai, you're in this position of power now. You are in your mind. I mean, you're a hierophant. You are this prophet of Ouijas in a sense. As your understanding perhaps has been some convoluted or misunderstood as you have been granted this extra power. And now it is time to assert yourself. And now I am going to want you to make... let's see. As you go to brand her in this mood, I know you have tinker tools as a background skill that we've discussed.
Proficient, yeah.
That
If one of them has a pencil and a staple, he can do this.
Then yes, I think what we need to do, you need to create a physical connection. This holy symbol, Mordecai. If your bones are holding you together between life and unlife, and maybe even could hold you together enough to be brought back from death itself, maybe a brand isn't necessarily just what is needed. And you have these tinker tools. You have the ability to not just inscribe the flesh, but perhaps you could even somehow imbue the flesh with signs of metal, of permanence. Maybe you could twist the wire and place it under her skin. There's ways to pursue this using your tinker tools if you'd like to go that route. If you want to continue with a traditional brand, it will be a little bit more difficult, but we could use... we could probably use performance in this case, as this is a performing art, even if it's to an audience of 1.5. Half is Selene. Not that Seltur's made herself necessarily super known in your current fit, but how would you like to do this? Would you like to create, more of like a piercing, an implantation of the metal in her skin to act as a physical bridge as well? Or would you like to continue the brand as discussed?
And I'm getting the sense that something physical needs to be implemented.
Well, from what you've seen, from what you've seen, people carry jewelry. They carry items, physical items that seem to act as a direct symbol of faith, as something that is held aloft or held out or painted or projected otherwise. You've not necessarily seen people use a brand in a magical sense. It could maybe work. But you have an opportunity as a tinkerer to create this bridge through rudimentary means, because, I mean, what is a tinkerer but an experimenter? Someone who can, take that bubble gum and paperclip and, fly a plane out to save the day kind of a thing. So what I will do for you mechanically is, with this confidence in your tinkering, I would allow for a tinker tools check at advantage. Otherwise, I would allow for a performance straight up. But there could be, drawbacks, of course. This is your choice.
Yeah, he would draw on the knowledge that he has about symbols, that they are a physical implement for focus. And so, is there, like, a piece of metal on the clothing I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Like buttons?
Yeah. There's little things, some metal for buttons, maybe like parts of the epaulets on your shoulders. Yeah, like a little, like a clip for a sash.
Don't really have a way of cutting anything, so I think what he would do is pop a button off and use that
as
the, you said that something metal has to go into the skin. So how he's gonna go in there, I don't know.
Okay, so we can generalize this. You want to sort of tinker on Selene's hand.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it.
Go ahead and roll your tinker skill at advantage.
Which attribute?
This would be, you're already inspired. Mentally, I mean, you don't know what you did for your religion, because I'm describing it here. So I think we can take any of the mental traits out, and we can just make this an act of dexterity as you're performing this.
Okay. 23.
23.
Good thing you had that advantage, otherwise it would have been that 9.
That would have been very bad.
And
Yeah.
Man, we are just hanging in there. This is creating a tense moment, huh?
Oh my god.
All right, so
I'm so scared of the dice right now.
We've had 6 ones already.
Yeah, this is uncanny.
So scared of the dice.
So you know what? To statistically balance out in the entropy of the universe, an entire star system has just imploded into a black hole. The improbability is reaching towards infinity.
All right, so
I mean, there's only been 3 ones, and 2 of them were on the same roll.
yeah.
And beyond.
All right, Mordecai. This is going to be this is going to take a chunk of time as you are working. Seltur outside. I mean, Selene is unconscious or mostly, but for everything that's happening, I mean, she's getting some metal designed. Not that you're necessarily aware of that, but she is giving off some muffled murmurs, some kind of sounds as the metal and the branding, as Mordecai is doing his work as an act of faith.
She's playing meek.
Playing meek? Oh, like, don't hurt me.
Yeah, she's
okay.
trying to pretend. She's trying her best to pull it in. I'm kind of disappointed. Not sure who I'm more disappointed into, the lack of noise that Selene is making or the lack of effort on Mordecai's part.
I'll tell you what. While you're out here, Seltur, because we have taken a chunk of narrative time here, go ahead and make a perception, just a straight up perception to see. You know, is the guy, is he dragging his feet? Is he on his way? You know, is there anything else that's happening here? And unless there's anything else that you want to add or invoke,
would you be kind enough to end up doing a perception check for Seltur?
I will. I want to make sure that there's nothing else that you wanted to add in or discuss.
At this point, she's more concerned about keeping the watch out, running interference, and taking as many juicy morsel here notes possible on the potential and the clearly obvious lack of technique on Mordecai's part.
Very good.
To become a full-fledged woman under his dead skin, I mean, it's a tragedy unto itself, I tell you.
Oof.
No.
Enough. Well, fortunately, this was straight up, so we'll take the 4 instead of the 1. With a +0. Hey, but we have video, everyone.
I'm a little distracted now in my disappointment.
It's still technically 7 ones, though.
So it's just Seltur's like outside, like just sort of like continuing to lean closer to the tent flap kind of a thing, and as Mordecai is tinkering on the teetering Selene's hand here. Mordecai, as this is happening now, of course you don't really have surgery tools. This is a little bit more, you're using your expertise and you're trying to, okay, we can do this. Now you at this time, I'm sorry, I'm in a bit of a fluster here. At this time, you do have some strength that's flowing through you, so it's easy to bend things like metal buttons and pins and whatnot. So, I mean, you don't need a scalpel per se, but, you can cut. You saw Selene use her own incisor, and so it is possible to use, your own fang or your nails or something along those lines, or even, there's other somethings. We don't need to get into those details per se. And so you have created what you believe to be this kind of this symbol or an amalgamation of faith, and it's not as lovely and detailed and burnt in as Selene had plotted with her lampblack sketching, but when you look at it in your own artistic eye, we have this kind of the best thing that you could represent what she was going for, this grinning face, the fire, and so you're kind of having to use the lines in her hand, and it will take some time as well to there has to be something else. What were we missing? We're missing fire, and you're gonna have to try and seal this up as well by doing some why am I derping on the word? Yeah, cauterizing on her hand. So make me, as you're now trying to pretty this up and go from here, make me a medicine check.
Straight?
Yeah. 8. All right. So Selene's hand continues to suffer for your art, and you're seeing this, and of course there's still blood, and it perhaps is clouding your vision a bit, but it in its own way, this is beautiful. It's almost like there's just, if that's not her skeleton, then there's just metal parts and the fusion of flesh, and you think for a moment to Jade, as she had these, every time she used her force spell, and you just had this fusion of flesh and metal, and now that you're looking at Selene's hand, there's just flesh and metal, and you're staring at it, and there's just this moment where you think back to Jade. Flesh and metal and faith, if you want to, I don't know if you want to call it as such. And It's a little sobering in its own way, and I'll let you express that however you'd like. You don't depower down or anything along those lines, but now that you're looking, and we do what we have to do. These words, whether it's a path that you believe in, or if there's a path that exists, or what was brought up prior to, what is the price you're willing to pay? What are you willing to give to get what you want the most? And you're this far. Selene is, kind of panting, huffing a little bit, has a cold sweat, as you're working on her and weaving in, cauterizing her flesh and all, and maybe even throwing in a cure spell, which, I mean, you're getting an extra little sip of blood in a sense from that as well, to keep her from bleeding out any further. And now I leave this to you with this description, Mordecai. You have something. What would you like to do in this moment?
That's a very good question.
Just not very sure what it is that I'm doing.
You have a symbol-ish embedded in her hand. You have a moment to reflect and look upon things. You could continue to tinker. You could abandon the project. You could cry for help. You could, whatever. They're
I look at Selene. She looks in a bad way. I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to lose another person.
Mm-hmm.
What'd she do?
There always is, too, the option for someone as close to death as she is to prevent death from occurring by granting her the gift of unlife if she's capable of receiving it.
Not doing that. Not doing that. I'm going to make sure that she's stable.
Okay.
Kind of focus on that for a moment. Just kind of reaching out with what faith I have towards Luna, the Silver Guardian, and towards Weejas, the Crimson Lady. And just try and make that connection that Selene wanted. Try and get guidance, I guess.
Then the action to go with the request, to go with the prayer that's not just a rote reaction. What will accompany this? I'm not necessarily demanding a sacrifice in a sense as some, angry like Aztec sun god or anything. But in this moment of whatever this is, what will happen beyond just words? Not that words can't have power in a game like this, or involving prayer, but you could leave it at that, or you could add to it.
he's not sure what he's doing wrong. And so he's just going to leave it at that.
All right. You're contemplating Mordecai, and Seltur, you don't need to roll a perception to see that that the time to check in. You hear a very obvious. Yep. Well, I reckon I need to go check on the prisoners. Coming off from the side, and it's been quiet in the tent, Seltur.
Cover me and say that I fell asleep.
Oh, Seltur's gonna like. Is everything? What does she see?
You see that the person making the patrol is walking back towards your tent area, and he's making a bit of an obvious show of things.
No. I mean, she to see what's going on.
Oh, you're gonna look inside the tent?
She's not aware of what's going on in the tent, right?
Okay.
So she's double checking.
You're gonna see.
Kind of unceremoniously.
Okay, that's fine. You kind of poke your head in. Selene is unconscious with a very interesting state of her left hand. There is definitely blood around. Not a ton. It's not like, because Mordecai would be a very bad vampire if you just let it go to waste by, spraying it everywhere. But there is some blood, and it does look like Mordecai's uniform is missing a couple buttons. It looks in a tad bit of disarray. Not that it's been like ripped at or anything, but he's in this very quiet moment over a very unconscious Selene.
She kind of looks towards me. She has Mordecai, I swear, if you the op, I'm gonna make you a. But clearly, you're gonna need more time to end up dealing with this. So I will buy you more time.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to use the fact that I have already measured what this guard's response is, and I'm about to twist it on him very, very badly.
Okay. What are you gonna do then to buy them some time?
I'm so sorry.
Oh boy.
She is gonna go up.
Just cure word the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And she is going to start leading him to the tent. And as she goes to the tent, it's like, I swear that once her cherry was popped, she became voracious. She needs you in there, and she is hitting her for any gentleman expect the day. This isn't impressive in there, but I feel safe.
Oh God!
So, man, you need to end up getting yourself in there, and she is going to be on top of you like one on rice. It's going to be absolutely amazing, I assure you. You take one look in there, and I can guarantee you are not coming out. Not for at least a good 3 or 4 hours. She might be calling on other gods because she is just a machine. I mean, I have had my share of affairs here, dear, but I have never said this. You better go on.
You know what? You know what? This is just perfect enough that it might work. And the weirdest thing about it is, Selene won't even get mad at Seltur for saying that. She's just like, you know what? I'm not even mad. Thank you for buying me more time.
Very well. Given the circumstances here, I'm not looking for a difficult threshold to surpass, and I will also give you advantage on this persuasion, as you're all but asking for a queue to form outside the tent, amid the desert-bound soldiers here.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So
yeah.
a 23, and not taking that 2, but you know it's not too bad all the same. As you address him, and I believe I caught most of what you said, Derek, although I think some of the internet dropped out. You kind of went into a robot voice for a little bit, but as you are trying to fluster this guard, having seen his reaction, is I believe what you said.
Net, I'm sorry.
What's that?
It's Boonie Net.
Yep.
Oh yeah. That's fine. You're out there, and Mordecai, you can hear. You can hear that Seltur is giving a bit of a song and a dance. You know, come one, come all, line up outside the tent for the greatest event in Mesotopia. You know, almost like a carnival barker. Not that you've heard plenty of those before.
Plenty.
Yeah. Your cheeks are already flushed with blood, so there's no point in being to blush. But the guard looks at you, Seltur, and if they're not done, I can give them just a little bit more time, but I can't. I have to be able to make a report, and I have to have visual confirmation that everyone is where they should be. So, I believe I left something back at the ship, and I will be right back. But, and he leans in really close to you, Seltur, but can you please, let him know that, make it quick. Okay. And he's all kinds of flustered. He's like, what do I do? I didn't sign up. I didn't sign up to be in the army for this kind of a thing. What? How am I supposed to react? And he goes to go get the thing. Apparently he forgot back at the airship. As in this time, one of them has landed. So you could relay that information to Mordecai in the tent if you'd like. Well, he probably would have said it loud enough, Mordecai. Seltur, if you want to add your spin and your color commentary, that's fine. But Mordecai, you would have heard that the guard reacted as he did to Seltur's carnival barking, and
Yeah, she pokes her head in. Mordecai, you have 10 minutes. I'd suggest clean up, bury what's left of it in the sand, and God, first time and she already passed out. Mordecai, you like things rough. I gotta give it to you. Well, with that comment, she just leaves before he can respond.
Oh, Jesus. God help us.
okay. You have a little bit more time. Selene's left hand. It's not that it's irreparable. You haven't chopped it off or anything. In looking at it, it could work still. Nope. Norallie with some more Insta shipping. You're seeing it live on Twitch, everyone, as it's happening. Because look, any kind of an operation, even in the best over the best rolls, you're still going to have, things might be swollen or things might, look a little wonky or whatever. So I'm not saying that Selene's hand is a train wreck, but certainly, you had this
like a train wreck.
This fitful moment. There's a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not this will work, whether the plan in general or Selene's hand ever again, and you have this faith still flowing through you. You have this zeal. You have this closeness, and as you're looking and the hand, something catches your eye, in that it does seem to be weeping, although what is weeping out of Selene's hand is blue.
That's hmm.
I am not a medical professional. I do not know what to do about this.
This is probably not in the realm of medicine, but perhaps the arcane.
Can I do an Arcana check?
Yes,
and
you can.
Investigate it a little? Okay.
You can do Arcana.
Normally?
Yeah.
Okay. 17.
17. Well, half elves don't bleed blue, even if they're descendants of high elves, which are very haughty-toddy here in Aslandia. But this is just a bright blue, and you're thinking like, what is happening? You're watching this now, Mordecai. As this is occurring, you are also not getting. You're full, but you're not getting that sense of there's blood. Your vampiric senses are not tingling at this sight. Not in you're not really in disgust, but you don't also feel a connection, or you don't feel some instinctual level fulfillment. And the blue continues to drop out, and as it does, it begins to sort of like twitch and congeal as it just continues to pour out of her hand. Are you going to watch this happen, or are you going to squish it like a bug, or are you going to love it and pet it and call it George?
I've never seen something like this before. I've never done something like this before. Do I get a sense that it seems malicious?
No. It's something that's pouring out of Selene's hand and forming into a shape.
Then I'm just going to cast Cure Wounds to seal the wounds.
Okay. Okay, so you cast Cure Wounds, and as you do, in common, you just hear kind of a and the wound kind of the wound that was kind of bleeding out cuts, or not cuts, it does the opposite. It seals up, and the blue that had dripped out begins to dissipate.
In a voice I recognize?
Yes. It's a little bubbly, given the shape.
Is there a Mr. Meeseeks in my head? No!
Jack.
It's Jack! It's Jack! Jack is in my left arm! No! Why is he back? I thought I got rid of him!
Surprise threesome.
There is a surprise voice coming from in the tent. I was like, no, and it seemed to stop. Mordecai, you can see Selene's left hand is kind of like pulsing, like there's like pushing from underneath the skin.
I am just gonna see if Selene's gonna wake up. I don't think she wants him around.
Well,
but he might be in her arm now.
As a part of this, so you did very well with your Arcana. You are recognizing that it did sound like Jack, and Jack was like manifesting out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Make an investigation straight up.
Oh, that's a crit.
There we go. You want more of those and less of the other ones.
Yeah,
Yes!
exactly.
21
I
investigation.
don't want to bumble through things.
Mordecai, this is one of the most strangest days you've had of your life and unlife combined. Thinking. Jack, but what... and again, so Selene's left hand is still kind of like bubbling and kind of like... Jack disappeared after Selene came back with the Fomorian eye.
Mm-hmm.
When you reappeared in the desert, you had nothing.
Yeah.
Selene also was getting into some theory crafting when you all were putting 2 and 2 together. That the Fomorians and the Fae have a very strained relationship.
They're at odds. The Fomorians got banned by Fae.
And the Fae were the experiments of the Fomorian.
And so we have a state in this mental experiment where Selene had Jack, Selene acquired the Fomorian eye, Selene didn't have Jack. Selene doesn't have the Fomorian eye, Selene has Jack.
That the Fomorian eye has something to do with banishing Jack in the first place.
And while it doesn't manifest as obviously as you, Mordecai, if you recall, Selene was made Fae. I mean, like she was gooed. Ghostbusters 2 style. Although it was kind of blue. And Jack was the result because it was a little bit more, it was intrusive, but it was a little bit more passive than your more active vampirism.
Right. I am so confused. Both in and out of character. I don't know what to do, so I want to get Selene back to consciousness in some way.
Wake me up so I can deal with this.
I clipped something for you guys.
Well,
Thank you, Darkhold.
well, waking up Selene is going to be outside the bounds of cure spells, since this is a lack of blood, and I mean, so we talk about hit points as kind of injury. This alone won't necessarily bring her back, as we're talking about something deeper than a wound or some battle exhaustion or some of the other things that we can chalk up to HP lost. So time can bring her back, or some other restorative spells that are more powerful may. But cure spells alone won't bring her back to consciousness right now.
Lesser resto if you've got it.
I do. I'm going to attempt it.
Because I mean, it's
restoration.
Okay.
It's like the difference between a cure spell and an Asuna spell, and you'd get that you'd get that reference, Matty.
Yes.
I mean, it does the following conditions, but I don't think she's suffering from any of those conditions. But
she's not. Although lesser restoration, in some other ways, can treat other things that aren't necessarily listed, like blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. Mm-hmm. What I will have this manifest as is Selene. This isn't replacing the blood in your body, but this will grant you a moment of magical consciousness where you're operating with this kind of, I don't know, magical blood or whatever a nice replacement, temporarily magical, is like, invigorating you enough to sort of supplement the blood that you have left in your body. And so you cast Lesser Restoration. Selene, whatever dream or not dream or whatever nightmare, nothingness that you've been having, your eyes open. Your left hand like burns, and your left hand is also like throbbing, although kind of in a literal sense. And Mordecai is there. His uniform's a little disheveled, but you have limited consciousness. What would you like to do with it?
Well, the first thing that would be heard from by Seltur is, "Oh my God, Mordecai!"
I didn't.
And then the next thing that she's gonna do in her limited state of consciousness, she's gonna have a look at her hand. Is the holy symbol like is it in a functional state?
Your hand is just really swollen. It looks like there's metal that has been put under your skin, and you do have burn marks.
Is it because I mean the main thing is like the shape and intent imbued into it is really all that truly matters.
It's not a perfect or beautiful burning into your skin, perhaps as you had originally imagined when you were so delicately using the lamp black to, inscribe your prayers and to design this symbol. Mordecai certainly put effort into all the things that he did, and so he gets a gold star for that on his macaroni sculpture.
So it should be functional. Or at least, at the very least, so long as I can push my intent through it, it should be functional.
Only one way to find out.
Right. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do...
You should also know that Jack is in your arm.
Sorry, what?
I heard his voice. It was a blue drip that was coming out that looked kind of like blood, but it was blue. And I don't know.
On the mention of Jack, Seltur immediately pokes her head in and says, "Which guard is Jack?"
No, not a guard. Not a guard, Seltur. Oh my God.
Just take it easy.
Good. Is there any way?
Might have seriously taken you up on your offer.
Is there any way that I could maybe draw him out of my arm using some kind of magic? What does it require? Yeah, no, she will do that. She'll open up her hand, but it'll be the other side, so as to not touch the holy symbol. Although she'll probably do a little bit of adjusting to that to make sure that now that she's aware, that she's at least somewhat conscious, that it's in a somewhat functional state to cast a couple spells that need material components.
Muffetop, while you're still up and around, I might remind you have about 2 minutes to get extremely indecent for when God shows up.
Easily done. Just.
Oh, good, because you might be bringing along friends. Fun.
All of his. What do you mean, all of his friends? As Selene is preparing to do the as if she's just gonna use the probably just gonna use like a nail or something to just. Constitution save at disadvantage. Bardic inspiration, Mordecai?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I'm gonna need it.
God.
I shouldn't need it. 14 should be alright for me to stay up and...
Matty, you're muted.
Oh shoot! Sorry about that, everyone. I must have clicked on something. Anyway, so you're seeing the light, just probably not in the way that that you're hoping to here, and
Yeah.
you are blinking. You're staying conscious, and you see that a blue begins to well and replace the blood that was coming out of your hand. Mordecai, you don't need to make a save. You're pretty full off of Selene, so we're good there. I mean, not that you're like, yeah, I could volunteer to kind of clean
And
that up, but,
now that that's been happened, she needs to let it drip.
If you're letting it happen, it's definitely happening on its own as Jack pours out of your body.
Yep.
And
as that happens, because we don't have a lot of time,
yes,
Selene is going to immediately get undressed and begin undressing Mordecai.
All right.
Let it happen.
So, Selene, you see Jack is starting to form into this blue fox, and you look at Mordecai. You're like, all right, let's. And the effects of the spell kind of end, and Selene, you fall back with your robes akimbo.
I catch her.
And at this point, Seltur, the guard is whistling very loudly.
Yeah.
And
Seltzer just simply makes a passing comment as he goes to check. Oh, I might end up telling you, it's a little messy in there. Virgin.
I'm sorry, but this
I'm
going to have to perform my visual check now, he says very blatantly.
And I'm just making sure that Selene is not falling to the ground and hurting herself.
Jack forms.
And so we are going to let's see.
I hope
Seltzer's just gonna poke her head in along with them.
Okay.
I mean, Selene is half naked, so it does look like they've been doing very, very naughty things.
Seltur, as you're peeking your head in, you see that Mordecai is holding on to a fainted Selene, very pale. That there is evidence of all the things that have happened. You also see that there is a little kind of turquoise blue fox that's also just sort of like pulling up off of the carpet that you've been given. And as it's kind of like forming and its snoot grows out, it looks up at you, and it has a bit of a curious look. And Seltur, the guard is like, Seltur, I'm sorry, Seltur, please move. I have to go check on the others.
Oh, and by all means.
Jacques is told to disappear by Mordecai.
I don't know if you heard me, Matty, but Mordecai told him to disappear.
No, I heard. I want to get the Seltur interaction real quick.
Fair enough.
Seltur, as soon as she hears the whole disappear thing, it's like she steps aside. By all means, take a look, take a gander, spot the goods.
Okay, all right. So holding the tent flap open so that he doesn't have to knock on the cloth. Let's. Jack looks around and like dives underneath a pillow, but his bright blue tail is kind of like hanging out. And the guard, as he walks in, at first he's trying to be professional. He's blocking a little bit of his view. I'm going to walk now, and he's starting to.
I go to make sure that Jack is completely hidden.
Just sit down on his tail.
Are you gonna drop Selene and dash over to sort of like pose, like, oh well, I'm just stretching on the pillows here, or what? How are you doing this?
I'm not dropping Selene. Just like.
Just throw a blanket at him.
Oh my god. trying to
You are right.
distract enough
Sure.
with the scene that is
pretty sure-
this.
I'd like to point out, given the ideas that Seltur has been putting in this guard's head for the past, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden realizing, no, they're still not decent.
Both of them are
I
still
think that
half
provides
naked.
enough distraction as it is. There's really no way to continue it.
Sure, if you're looking to create a like hey, we could do a sleight of hand could work to make a flourish while still maintaining hold of Selene, or a performance might work as well, to try and capture the attention. I would allow a either would just be a straight up roll. You know, in any benefits or banes that come from it would be appropriate to you doing a physical act or a charismatic act.
Okay. I'm going to.
Ta-da! Selene goes flying off into the tent.
17 performance. All right, so you're as he's like, I'm gonna lower my hand, and you are saying, how are you getting his attention? Like, and I present the aristocrats or something like that.
I present the
My
aristocrat.
God, man! Don't you have any decency?
12-sided guy. Thank you very much for that. If you'd like to provide a small little favor to for or against the players or even myself, you are welcome to do so. If you'd like to let me know how you'd want to do that. All right. So have you any decency? He lowers his hand. Look, buddy, I'm just here to make sure that, and he definitely doesn't see the blue tail that's kind of hanging out from under the pillow, but he's looking as you're holding Selene. And this is like a very weird romantic cover because, you know, your military uniform is kind of like open. You know, you got a little bit of the chest going on. You got the beautiful blue curls kind of like slicked back. And then Selene is like, you know, in her dress as she's like, she's passed out. Probably ungraciously has her tongue lolling out of her face or something. But, but he just sees you sort of like embracing her as she's...
A heck out question mark?
I have her close to me. I'm not like making it look like she's like unconscious.
No. I'm adding a little bit of fun descriptive flair. Like this is the cover of a you know, assorted, you know, Harlequin novel or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm making it look like that.
We have like Mordecai, the bare-chested Fabio here, and Selene is the you know, the tousled damsel that has her hair blowing in the breeze kind of a thing. Except she has kind of a mangled left hand and is pale and is there may be blood here and there, and and your military uniform is just slightly askew. I mean, with your eyes kind of rolled back, Selene, that sort of a face could be possible.
Yeah. I'll roll a d20 for it. You don't have to be awake to perform.
I need to make sure that everything is all right, and you've had your private time, but we are going to have you come back out into view. There's not much more that I can do. Do you need anything? Do you need? Well, he looks at you before you ask. You know, do you need what? No. Excuse me, Selene. Do you?
Everyone, be nice.
Selene, do you need water? Selene?
Selene is actually, you know what? I am going to roll it just because it will lend to how it might change the guard's response if he sees that she's not in a state of responding because of X or Y.
12-sided guy, thank you for the follow also.
Just a...
What are you... Well, I mean, we could just say that happens. I don't think there's really a role, because you're...
To use the common vernacular, that girl is a weak.
So yeah, I mean, your head kind of lolls to the side, and your eyes are just like, ooh, rolled back, and, you know,
There's a sigh. There is a just an unconscious sigh. Where it's very obvious that Selene isn't really up for talking at the moment.
White, I will make sure that fluids are provided for her when she's more able to take them.
I mean, I think fluids
Yes,
have been
please.
provided enough tonight.
But
He looks back to you, Seltur, and kind of gives you a quizzical look. Looks back in. White. Well, that's not what I... Anyway, just
a round of
please-
applause for that.
please
if
just
you
come
want
out of
to
the tent and
provide,
settle
by
down.
all means,
and-
Allow us to get decent, please.
Yes, please be
you
decent.
better hurry up with that.
Your uniform is very out of sorts, Mordecai.
Yes, we all know. You do not need to make comments. On with you, man.
I
did tell
love
you.
it. This is funny.
Very well.
I tell you.
We will expect you out in 5 minutes. And he turns.
Oh,
he looks at you,
goody.
Seltur, and he just he gives a flustered sigh. I don't know,
She
but I
taps
think
the
you
tip
need to
of
be
her
decent
nose.
too, Seltur. And you have 5 minutes to, I don't know, do something positive. And he just sort of stomps off in a kind of a just a ugh, what is going on?
Oh God.
Remember to throw away the towel afterwards. She shouts to him as he leaves. Immediately, she pokes her head in the tent, dead fish eye, looking at the both of them. And that, my dear Mordecai, is why sometimes indecency is the best cover.
Thank
And
you.
She just leaves.
Jack wiggles out from underneath the pillow as well. What is going on?
You need to disappear.
I don't think I can right now. I'm just... This is weird. I just don't... I'm having some trouble focusing. I'll just crawl under the pillow or something, I guess.
Yeah, hide really well. I can see you.
And he'll go, and you're like, get that tail in, and whoop. I'm not always used to having a tail.
Ah, that's obvious.
Well, he kind of pokes his head back out. Well, maybe you can give me some pointers later.
Yeah. Goodbye.
And whoop, disappears under the pillow.
I'm doing what I can. I'm going to take Selene so that she's lying down in the more common area of the tent structure.
Yeah, well,
Hobbit,
you
I'm
can
guessing.
bring her out to the table and kind of set her on a...
Yes. And get her decent.
Like, do you want to, like,
Cover.
prop her up, like, Weekend at Bernie's style, where she's, like, you know...
No, like she's
Okay.
sleeping.
Oh, okay, so just very peaceful.
Yes.
What a little angel.
And I
keep-
cover her with a blanket and everything.
Yeah,
so.
making sure that left hand is covered up here. That's fine. So you lay her down to sleep, and Seltur, are you making your way back to the table? It sounds like dinner's going to be served soon.
Heavy
Oh,
sigh
dinner.
comes from Mordecai.
Fantastic. Oh, if this day he couldn't.
Selene
first get
isn't very
hookah,
hungry.
And then a song and dance. And then some fun times. We'll get to play with the gods, and then we get fed. Oh, this day is just turning out fantastic, Don.
If it means anything to you, Seltur, I mean, Mordecai has to go out of his way to give those those heavy sighs, because, I mean, he has to manually breathe, so...
Oh, honey, that is just making my eve. Now, if that's anything to be considered, I'm just going to end up continuing on. I'm going to observe guard patrols. I'm just keeping an eye out for useful information and what have you. But just because I'm working doesn't mean that I can't enjoy a bit of playtime. And if sometimes that means grabbing some grub, then by all means.
Okay.
She's just going to be laughing as the gods start. She's going to have to remind Selene that she's got to give that wink and a nod to every single god she sees from this point on to maintain the moves.
Alrighty. Then what we'll do is let's take a little break ourselves, get some refreshments, you know, snacks, drinks, and whatnot. And when we come back, we can we'll finish up the scene here. I don't think there's terribly much more because Selene, you're kind of out of the woods as far as this impromptu other surgery went. But
Well,
we'll
I mean,
cap off.
Oh,
what's that?
I was just gonna say, as soon as she wakes up, she's probably going to press her use her new holy symbol, as it were, to try and cast sending to contact Bright.
Okay.
So
well,
that's the perfect way we could segue into going with the other team.
We'll see what happens. Let's get up and
Yep.
take our break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes to refresh ourselves.
Yep.